How many of us listening are 80s kids? I know I'm one of them. Before we had all of the electronic devices that we have now, we had very different ways of entertaining ourselves, am I right? Like I told you guys in the last episode, I'm an only child, so finding ways to entertain myself was essential. I didn't have a lot of toys that required someone else to play along with me. As a matter of fact, my parents didn't really get me toys like that. I didn't have dolls or action figures. I used to be so jealous of some of the other kids in the neighborhood that had elaborate Barbie mansions or Star Wars setups in their bedrooms. I had none of that. My parents provided me with things that I could occupy myself with by myself. I had a speak and spell, and I had this thing called a kid quiz. It was like this electronic keyboard with an assortment of booklets that quizzed you on a variety of trivia topics. I had card games. I had Newton balls, dominoes, a Rubik's Cube, marbles, silly putty. I had a massive sticker collection, and I had a dartboard. I had building sets like Tinker Toys and Lincoln Logs. I had a chalkboard and an easel. And looking back on it, I feel like I was pretty satisfied with the things I had. I guess if I did have some Barbies or Star Wars action figures, it would have been pretty pathetic to try and play those things alone. As I got older, I got my own phone in my room. It wasn't as cool as getting your own private line, but that never happened for me. I had one of those really neat acrylic phones that you can see all of the innards and wirings of it. I thought that thing was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, even cooler than my inflatable palm tree. I eventually got my own little boombox in my room with a tape deck. I would sit there and listen to the radio and try and catch my favorite songs so I could record them onto some Memorex tapes and decorate them with stickers from my collection. I did have an Atari 5200, which had 2 controllers, but only one ever got used. I had games like Breakout, Miss Pac-Man, Pitfall, Centipede, Q*bert, and Pole Position. To this day, I think I could still kick my husband's ass at Miss Pac-Man. On the weekends or during the summer, you'd have to pick up your house phone and call your friend's house and ask Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so to speak to your friend. And you always had that one friend whose phone was always busy. Then you'd make plans to get together or to walk to the store or up the street to the library or try to get a ride from your parents to go to the mall or to the skate rink or to the movies. Am I bringing back some memories for you guys? Well, if you're anything like me, you loved watching TV. I mean, this was before we had VCRs and before we had cable. We had about 7 or 8 channels to choose from. And in the 80s, there were so many cool shows to watch. And because TV was the main form of entertainment, I watched as many as I could in every genre that I could. Except I really didn't like watching anything that involved children's shows or cartoons or anything like that. I'm not sure why. I liked comedies and action shows like Three's Company, Knight Rider, Growing Pains, Alf, Who's the Boss, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, Miami Vice, Mork and Mindy, The Dukes of Hazzards, The Facts of Life, The A-Team, Family Ties, and Cheers. There are probably so many more that I watched. It's just too many to list. There was one show that stands out in my memories as a kid that was one of my favorites, Different Strokes. You guys remember that show, right? Well, if you don't, I'll give you a little bit of a background as to the premise of it. The show takes place in New York and starred Conrad Bain as Philip Drummond, a wealthy widower who was raising a teenage daughter, Kimberly Drummond, on his own. When his housekeeper passes away, he decides to adopt her 2 young African-American boys, Arnold and Willis Jackson, portrayed by Gary Coleman and Todd Bridges. Early episodes of Different Strokes addressed typical family issues between kids and their dad. Later episodes, however, focused on some more serious issues including drug abuse, alcoholism, hitchhiking, eating disorders, sexual assault, and pedophilia. Today, on California Dreaming, we are going to take an in-depth look at the troubled life and untimely death of one of the show's brightest child stars in the tale of Dana Plato. Dana Michelle Plato was born Dana Michelle Strain on November 7, 1964 in Maywood, California, to Linda Strain. As it would turn out, Linda would never hold or ever see the little girl she gave birth to. If she had laid eyes on her baby, she would have never been able to do what she had to do at that time, give her up for adoption. Linda was only 16 years old at the time she had Dana, a child herself. Not only that, she had already had one other child, and this simply was going to be too much for her to handle. She had to make that tough decision to give Dana up. It would be Dean, an owner of a trucking company, and Kay Plato, who would adopt Dana and raise her in nearby Montebello, California. The couple were over the moon to have the opportunity to have adopted the beautiful bouncing baby girl, and Mother Kay doted all over baby Dana. She was overjoyed and loved Dana so very much. Dana was her entire life. However, when Dana was only 3 years old, for reasons I could not seem to find, her father moved out of the home. Dana was devastated, and this would have a lasting effect on Dana throughout her life when it came to issues with relationships, abandonment, feelings of being damaged and unwanted. This, along with eventually learning of her adoption, left here with these conflicted feelings about having been adopted, being wanted, being chosen, and yet being abandoned by the very same person who picked her. It would leave a very deep and emotional scar that would torment Dana her entire life. Kay, however, embraced the role of single motherhood. She decided she was going to give Dana the best possible life she could, as normal of a life with having only one parent in the home. However, Kay soon came to realize, as Dana was growing older, that there was nothing normal about her little girl. She was very, very talented. She could sing, she could dance, she could tap, ballet, ice skate. She had a bright, funny, outgoing, shining personality. There wasn't anything Dana couldn't do, and she did it effortlessly. When Dana was 7, she talked her mom into letting her try modeling and acting. One might speculate that when someone as talented and multifaceted as Dana is clamoring for the spotlight, when a child is begging to get onto a stage or in front of a camera, such as Dana had been, it might very well be due to a lack of or a perceived lack of love and attention at home. Therefore, these children are attempting to supplement those feelings with achieving love and attention from the camera, from the audience, from applause, from adoration. And right from the start, the charming young Dana was a star. She was quickly cast in dozens of commercials, reportedly over 100 commercials as a child, and began to land movie roles as well. But it was a chance meeting at an audition for the Gong Show that would change Dana's life forever. And for those who don't know or don't remember the Gong Show, it was an amateur talent competition show that ran sporadically and in syndication from 1976 to 1988. Each show featured some amateur performers with some sort of talent or supposed talent, and they would perform these talents before a panel of 3 celebrity judges. If any judge felt an act was particularly bad, he or she could make it stop by striking a large gong. Dana had made an appearance on the Gong Show, and that's when she was spotted by a producer who immediately thought she would be perfect for a specific role in a new show that was in the works. This producer would help her go on to secure this role, and it would become Dana's most famous, the role of Kimberly Drummond on Different Strokes. It was around the same time that Dana was poised to land a spot on the 1980 Olympic figure skating team. But her mother decided to cut back on the figure skating in order to focus on the television role. Different Strokes premiered November 3rd, 1978, and it was an instant hit with audiences. Dana, along with her co-stars Todd Bridges and Gary Coleman, shot to stardom. The concept of the show was unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. A wealthy white widower with a teenage daughter adopting 2 black kids from Harlem. America loved it. I loved it. I don't know why, I just loved it. I thought it was funny. I loved their penthouse. I loved their balcony. I loved that staircase. I wanted to live in that house so bad. I wanted Mr. Drummond to adopt me too. The show is not only still regarded as one of the most successful sitcoms in television history, but one of the very few which succeeded because of its multiracial cast, and the rapport between the stars and characters was palpable. They were funny and charming. Their chemistry was perfect. Despite the fact the show was a sitcom, it did not shy away from tackling some of the controversial and social issues I had listed earlier. The show had episodes which they called special episodes, the ones that addressed racism, bulimia, child molestation, sexual assault, class division, and drug and alcohol issues. It was apparent from very early on that the character of Arnold Jackson, played by Gary Coleman, quickly emerged as the show's star. With his funny one-liners and spot-on comedic timing, not to mention he was completely adorable and mischievous at the same time. I don't know about you, but I look forward to his "What You Talk About, Willis" every single episode. Dana, Todd, and Gary quickly became fast friends. They were so close on the set and they bonded immediately. In the early years on the show were the best for the 3 child stars. Dana adored her co-stars, and they spent hours upon hours together as they worked on the show. And they also hung out during their off time as well. But for Dana, reality slapped back at her hard for the first time in a lifelong string of reality checks that would plague Dana into her teen years and into adulthood. Dana's mother, Kay, was diagnosed with systemic scleroderma, an autoimmune disease of the connective tissue. It is characterized by the thickening of the skin caused by an accumulation of collagen and by injuries to small arteries. There are 2 forms of scleroderma, localized and systemic. The localized form affects only the skin of the face, hands, and feet. The systemic disease involves those areas and, in addition to, may progress to visceral organs, including the kidney, heart, lungs, and gastrointestinal tract. The prognosis is dependent upon the form of the disease the person is afflicted with and the extent of the visceral organ involvement with the spreading of the disease. Individuals with localized scleroderma have a 75% chance of surviving at least 10 years and have less than a 10% chance of developing pulmonary arterial hypertension after 10 to 20 years. Patients with systemic scleroderma have a 55% chance of surviving 10 years after diagnosis. Death is most often caused by lung, heart, and kidney involvement. There is also an increased risk of cancer. Dana's mom was diagnosed with systemic scleroderma, the more serious of the two. Today, however, with advances in effective treatments for kidney failure, with therapies including immunosuppressive drugs, have greatly increased survival rates. But at the time, it was a grim outlook for Kay. She knew her health was in steady decline, and it was terminal. So she decided she needed to tell Dana the heartbreaking truth about her condition and to try to do whatever she could to prepare Dana for life without her. I don't think there was going to be any way for Dana to easily cope with this devastating news, already having confronted a number of abandonment issues so far in her young life, having been put up for adoption, her father walking out on the family when she was 3, and now this. It would prove to be more than Dana could bear. The added pressure of Kay's illness began to take its toll on Dana. As Kay had to spend more and more time in the hospital, Dana was left more and more to her own devices. It was the perfect storm of too young, too much money, and too much freedom that would prove to be a volatile mixture for the young star. And it didn't exactly help that throughout Dana's entire childhood and adolescence, that Kay spoiled Dana rotten. Anything Dana wanted, Dana got. And now that Kay was incapacitated and hospitalized, Dana would continue to have anything and everything that Dana wanted. And it wasn't going to be the things that were good for her. Friends of Dana have reported that her drinking and marijuana use began around the age of 13. So, as the pressures of life, a sick mom, a rigorous work schedule, and the freedom to party as she pleased, the drug and alcohol use ramped up as time went on. The once pleasant and jovial, bright and vivacious young girl who always came to the set prepared for work, always the epitome of professionalism, began to fade away. By the time Dana was 14 years old, the teen was headed in a direction that was leading her into very serious trouble. The Kimberly Drummond that came into everyone's living room each week was not the same person behind the scenes. When you pulled back the veil, the private life of Dana was spiraling, desperately out of control. At the height of Dana's fame in the early 80s, Dana was racking in a staggering $25,000 per episode. And in addition to that, she was a much sought-after spokesperson for national products such as Noxzema. A beautiful young Dana had not only become a role model for teenage girls across America, she was also a heartthrob for teenage boys. With the strains of instant stardom, a terminally ill mother, and everything complicated that goes on in the life of an adolescent, at the age of 14, Dana attempted to take her own life by taking an overdose of pills. But she did it in the presence of several of her friends who quickly called for help. At this point, it could be easily surmised that this may not have been something Dana wanted to actually do to herself. If she was wanting to take her own life, she could have just as easily attempted it while she was alone. But she did it in front of her friends. Full disclosure once again, I'm not an expert in matters such as suicide, but if I were to speculate, I would say Dana taking those pills was a very serious cry for help or attention. She was rushed to the hospital, and the contents of her stomach were pumped. Her manager tried everything she could to keep this news out of the press, but word got out quickly to the media that the different stroke star was rushed to the hospital with an apparent overdose. This event marked a significant change in Dana's life. Her behavior, her disposition, her personality, her ability to work amicably on the set, everything shifted, and not in a good way. She would disappear from the set if she showed up at all. She was never on time and would duck out and hide to smoke marijuana in between shoots. Her drug use was on a steady incline as she continued on with the drinking and marijuana use. She also began snorting cocaine, and she began behaving promiscuously as well. The once close bond the cast of Different Strokes had once had started to fracture. It wasn't just Dana that was falling apart behind the scenes. Todd Bridges was her party and drug companion. Gary Coleman didn't participate in the drug use and partying mainly because of his age and his health problems related to a congenital chronic kidney disease that I don't really want to try to pronounce, but it is what stunted his growth. The three kids of the cast of Different Strokes were each struggling with each of their own deep personal issues. In 1983, Dana began dating an aspiring rock star named Lenny Lambert. It was then Dana began to turn her nose up at the demands of life. She just wanted to have fun and be with her boyfriend. She was growing tired of the grind of keeping herself together each week to film the show. She just wanted to be free, to do her own thing. I'm sure we can all relate to that feeling, but we gotta pay the bills, right? I guess that didn't exactly occur to Dana when she decided she just didn't want to be committed to the TV show anymore. Well, no sooner had she began thinking about finding a new kind of freedom from the commitments of work did life throw yet another curveball, one that she wasn't exactly going to be able to quit whenever she felt like she didn't want to do it anymore because she wanted that freedom again. She became pregnant. So, in April of 1984, Dana and Lanny got married in Las Vegas. 3 months after the couple tied the knot, on July 2nd, 1984, a 19-year-old Dana gave birth to a beautiful baby boy she named Tyler. Dana was over the moon in love with her little boy. It was the happiest anyone had ever seen Dana in such a very long time. For some, it was the happiest they'd ever seen her. Her manager and godmother describes Dana as a wonderful, loving mother, to which I have no doubt. By all accounts, baby Tyler was her entire world, and she doted on him, just as her mother had doted on her. Despite her newfound happiness in embracing her role as a new mom, there was something Dana hadn't considered: the impact the pregnancy would have on her career. She was a huge star of a television show, only 18 years old at the time she became pregnant. This was a wholesome family television show, and we all know how TV executives felt about this sort of stuff, especially back then when there was no getting around it. When Dana told her TV dad, Conrad Bain, that she was having a baby, he asked her if she was really sure she wanted to have a baby at this time in her life. He understood the implications. He knew this would be the end of her career as she knew it. He knew she would be gone from the show, and that is exactly what happened. In the storyline of Different Strokes, her character was sent off to Paris to study abroad, with the understanding that she would come back on the show from time to time to visit. I remember when this happened. I had no flippin' idea that girl was pregnant, or that all this other stuff that I've talked about so far was going on. I was like 9 years old at the time. I had no clue. I think I actually thought that she went to Paris. Anyway, Dana was fired, and for her, That was the absolute worst thing that could have happened to her at the time. Emotionally, it crushed her. From that point forward, Dana's life would be riddled with personal difficulties, struggles, and drama, with very, very few bright points in her personal life. Without the routine, without the structure, without the support, and most importantly, without the attention that was brought to her through her role on Different Strokes, Dana was lost. Being on the show gave her just enough motivation to keep her life together enough to get through filming each episode, but that was about it. Once that was gone, she fell completely to pieces. Psychologist Carol Lieberman says, when people grow up with holes or an emptiness inside of them, they look for things to fill it. In Dana's case, she began filling those holes with stardom from a very early age. The applause, the lights. And when that died, she then looked for other things to fill them. Alcohol, drugs, anything for attention. Not long after having Tyler, she began to leave her son and her husband home to go off to party, often with former cast member Todd Bridges. This led her to neglecting her young son and essentially destroying her marriage in the process. Even after the show had gone off the air, Todd and Dana continued doing drugs together. More and more, her behavior was completely off the rails. She was a new mom. She was newly married, and she was starting to run out of money. Dana was completely hurtling out of control. In 1985 and 1986, Dana returned to Different Strokes for a few episodes, but by the time Dana had attempted to do something with her career, her husband Lanny had had enough. He took their son and left California. Not only was he gone, her son was gone, and this would be the final season of Different Strokes. Seeing Dana on the show in 1986 would be Tyler's first memories of his mom. It was very exciting for him at the time to see his mom on TV. Even though she wasn't with him, it was a good feeling for him that his mom was famous. It's been said that when an addict is in the throes of his or her addiction, that the world around them begins to shrink. Your friends begin to want to see you less and less. Your family also begins to shy away from you because it's too painful to be around you and your self-destructive behavior. Work is hard to maintain because you feel like junk all the time because of your drug and alcohol abuse. Then your party friends party elsewhere because you're broke. And in Dana's situation, her own mother still battling her debilitating disease and being desperately ill, inching closer to death with each passing day, Dana withdrew from the world. The once vibrant child star, who was working long days, earning tremendous amounts of money, and basking in the fame and success, was now living a very reclusive life. She was barely interacting with anyone, and barely eating for that matter. She was hitting rock bottom. By 1987, Dana would be forced to confront some of her demons. At the end of that year, Dana had been so completely consumed by her drug addiction that she actually went to go visit her mom at the hospital, and out of pain and anger and frustration, screamed at her to hurry up and die. People who knew her would say that this isn't the real Dana. It was a Dana that had been overtaken by drugs. In reality, Dana was in fact terrified of losing her mother. Always the one person that she could trust wholeheartedly in this entire world. It's worth mentioning that it's true Dana lost her father in 1968 when she was 3, and he walked out on her and her mother. But she lost him again in a different way in 1984 when he sued her for financial support. He didn't win, but I'm certain that ordeal wasn't doing any favors for Dana's emotional state. Sadly, in January of 1988, Dana lost her mother as well when she died, succumbing to her debilitating disease, systemic scleroderma. By the time Dana's mother passed away, Dana, the actress, the celebrity, the spokesperson, that Dana was forgotten. Casting agencies who once clamored for her now look past her as if she wasn't even there. She was no longer employable. So Dana, out of desperation for work, began to grasp at anything that would come her way. She needed to earn some money, and when someone gets to that lowest point, I guess they'll do just about anything. In June of 1989, Dana agreed to do a photo spread for Playboy magazine. Now I, by no means, am insinuating that posing for Playboy is only for the most desperate of the desperate. But for Dana, I don't think it was something her career had necessarily been on a path for, doing this particular kind of work. Dana Plato, to her fans, including myself, was the funny, sweet, and charming Kimberly Drummond that we all welcomed into our living rooms each week. And now everyone was seeing her in a series of revealing photos on the pages of Playboy. Except I didn't see them, I had no idea this was going on, but anyway. Unfortunately, Playboy was able to capitalize on Dana's sexuality, but it wasn't exactly something the public, her fans in particular, wanted to see. She was adored as this cute, freckled-faced little girl they saw in different strokes. But Dana took the chance and did the photo spread, and it backfired. The salacious photos, along with the rumors of hard drug use and partying, turned her into a person that Hollywood didn't want to have anything to do with anymore, especially when it came to casting quality acting roles, as she had once been on in different strokes. In March of 1990, unable to find legitimate work, Lanny having divorced her and winning sole custody of Tyler, Dana's world was in shambles. Lost, alone, and completely shaken, Dana decided to leave California. She could no longer deal with being that Dana Plato that couldn't get any work in Hollywood. She headed to Vegas, and I could just tell in reading about this move she made that nothing good was going to come of this by immersing herself in Sin City, a town that thrives off of desperation. Dana went there just as desperate as anyone in that city. I'm only guessing, but I think Dana went there in an attempt to get lost amongst a place that never sleeps. Despite everything Dana was going through, the drugs, the loss, the failing career, she did desperately try to maintain her relationship with her son, Tyler. He visited with her often, and as far as he was concerned, she was the best thing in his life. As he would put it, Dana was everything to him. She was his best friend. They could tell each other anything. With him coming to visit her fairly regularly in Vegas, Dana did the best she could to pull together as much of a manageable life as possible. But with no other skills other than acting, and a very minimal amount of education, Dana took a job offer at a Las Vegas dry cleaning business. The once blossoming young actress, who had at one point been earning $25,000 per episode while working on different strokes, was now earning $200 a week at a dry cleaner's, and she was being viciously ridiculed for doing it. Despite the move, despite the job, despite her son, there was no escaping the grip addiction had on her life. No matter what she was doing, no matter how much she wanted to work on her relationship with Tyler, addiction ravaged Dana. She spent more and more time in Vegas dive bars, drinking, gambling, and doing drugs, desperately trying to hang on to the menial life she had tried to put together. But she was tumbling further and further into the vortex of her addiction. About a year after moving to Vegas, her desperation reached another one of its lowest points. In the months leading up to February of 1991, Dana had lost 2 low-paying jobs at 2 different dry cleaners. At this point, she was spending a great deal of her time trying to win a jackpot at a nickel slot at a neighborhood bar she frequented most often, the Lakes Lounge. It was located close to the small apartment that she was then sharing at that time with a boyfriend she had met, a local warehouse worker named Jason Spavin, along with another roommate. Together they split the $550 per month rent. On February 28th, the day before her rent was due, Dana, by this time 26 years old, had spent the day looking for a job. She had applied for a $6 an hour job picking up garbage and cleaning bathrooms at the building she lived in, but she was turned down, and this would be Dana's breaking point. In a state of complete desperation, she put on a black hat and dark sunglasses and dressed all in black around 10:25 in the morning, according to witnesses. Dana walked into a local video store. She demanded that the clerk, Heather Daly, hand over all her money, and she brandished a pellet gun. Heather handed over $164 from the register, and Dana promptly fled the scene. The clerk called 911 and told the operator that she had just been robbed by the girl who played Kimberly Drummond on Different Strokes. Despite the fact that her hair was unkempt, her eyes were red and swollen, she was still recognizable as Kimberly Drummond. However, for some reasons only known to Dana, she inexplicably returned to the scene, wearing some different clothes but still recognizable. She was promptly taken into custody and charged with armed robbery. Police took her to the Clark County Detention Center, where she was held in custody for 5 days until she was able to post bail. Early rumors had circulated that the bail money came from her selling her story to tabloid publications, but it later came out that Vegas entertainer Wayne Newton had actually posted the bail on Dana's behalf. The only statement Wayne ever said about it came from his manager in March of 1991, and all that was said was that Wayne never met the actress before, but he felt bad for Dana, and he knew the turmoil of a life of being a child star. Well, that's all the explanation necessary, I would say. After posting bail, Dana's attorney said for now that she was pleading innocent while the case was making its way through the preliminary hearings. The crime which Dana committed, armed robbery, is actually quite a serious charge, and it carried a possible maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Remember O.J.'s Vegas sentence? They don't mess around in Clark County. Dana robbing the video store made instant headlines. They said things like, from sitcoms to stick-ups, or from child star to stick-up artist. The press was brutal. There had even been some speculation that Dana robbing the video store was some bizarre publicity stunt to resurrect her acting career. I can't say with all certainty that that's true, But the robbery definitely drew attention, as it was the latest in several incidents involving the three youngest stars of Different Strokes at the time. Todd Bridges, 25 years old at this time, had just been acquitted of murder and manslaughter charges in August of 1990, in addition to a police record that dates back to 1983. Gary Coleman, bogged down with health issues related to 2 failed kidney transplants, had been involved at the time in a lawsuit against his parents for mishandling his $18 million fortune. This, along with the trajectory of each of their lives after the show ended, is often referred to as the curse of Different Strokes. As I had said back in episode 3 about the death of Phil Hartman, I referred to the curse of Saturday Night Live. I kind of poo-pooed on the notion of a curse, but I'm kind of buying the curse of Different Strokes in this case. Anyway, a friend of Dana's, who was also a co-worker at the dry cleaners, had said that people would bring their clothes there just to meet her. But Dana ended up having to leave their place of work over some sort of personality conflict with another employee. Then she briefly took work at a different dry cleaning establishment before losing that job too. When her friend called her a few days after the robbery, Dana herself kind of suggested to her that it was a sort of a cry for help. Dana told her that she just wasn't thinking, and she thinks that she's just really whacked. Those were her words. Now this, the robbing of a video store being a cry for help, a cry for attention perhaps, now this I'm inclined to believe. Did she rob a video store because it's likely that she would be recognized as Dana Plato in that type of establishment? In an effort to not only get help, but also the recognition? Maybe that's why she went back to the scene a few minutes later. What was going on with Dana's thinking and what sort of state of mind she was in is anybody's guess. In video footage of her coming and going from the courthouse, she appeared to be alert, personable, deliberate. She even cracked a joke about this not being candid camera. In the end, Dana ended up pleading out, either guilty or no contest, and was given a sentence of 5 years probation. A sentence which many felt was too lenient for a somewhat serious crime. I mean, if you really think about it, who gets 0 days in jail for armed robbery? OJ got what, like 33 years? Now, I by no means am a proponent for harsh jail sentences when it comes to circumstances like Dana's. I most certainly feel that there is a need to help provide rehabilitative services for someone with addiction issues such as Dana's, and that jail may not be exactly the right place for someone like her. But when you think about her case, she was facing armed robbery charges, not drug charges. Who knows what she and her attorney had said to the judge, but I'm certain she was doing everything she could to avoid jail time. I wonder if she disclosed her addiction problem to the court. Did she tell the court that she robbed the video store because she was destitute as a result of addiction? Or did she tell the court that she was out of work and out of money and hoped that her celebrity would earn her a light sentence? It doesn't seem that she disclosed anything because I did not see her ordered to attend any kind of intervention program by the court, and thus she wasn't going to be getting any kind of help that she needed. Not getting any jail time wasn't going to help. Not getting honest with herself in that moment with the judge wasn't going to help. And 5 years of probation certainly wasn't going to help either. And after the dust settled following her robbery case, Dana was right back where she had started, looking desperately again to fill those voids in her life. By the end of that same year, in November of 1991, Dana decided that she needed to start searching for her birth parents. With the help of an agency called International Locators, about a month later on December 2nd, 1991, Dana finally had the opportunity to meet her birth mother. Dana was thrilled to be able to finally have the chance to meet the woman who gave birth to her. Their reunion even became a commercial for the International Locators Agency. Dana was able to connect with her biological family, who lovingly welcomed her with open arms. Dana kept in touch with them for a while, hoping that this would be the thing to fill all the emptiness that she was feeling in her life. However, less than a year later, after the joyous reunion, Dana abruptly, without any explanation to her family, cut off all contact, including her mother. Dana told her mother-in-law that she deeply regretted seeking out her biological mother, and that she hadn't wanted her when she was born. Kay did, and that was her mother, and she never wanted to see her birth mother again. By January of 1992, Dana was again drifting around through her days, lost, uncertain of what to do or where to go next. And this was only leading Dana back to desperate measures. She flew to Oklahoma, where her ex-husband's father was a doctor, and stole one of his prescription pads. She forged a prescription for herself for 100 Valiums with 10 refills, and then flew back to Vegas. However, strangely, she turned herself in. This time, she was facing charges of forgery and probation violation, of which she still had 4 years stemming from the robbery conviction. Inexplicably, once again, Dana walked away from these charges with another slap on the wrist, another 5 years of probation, and no jail time. Dana faced the reporters and told them that people who have an addiction problem really need to be given the chance to seek some help, rather than just going to prison. For a moment, it seemed like Dana was going in the right direction for the first time in a long time. In April of 1992, things seemed to be getting better for Dana. She performed for the first time in more than 6 years when she appeared as a showgirl in the revue Tropical Heat in Las Vegas. But sadly, the show abruptly ended after 4 months. Following the cancellation of Tropical Heat, Dana landed some roles in a succession of B movies. Then, on October 15, 1992, Dana appeared in a video game called Night Trap. It was a game that was so degrading and so violent, it not only enraged loyal fans, but it also sparked a congressional debate on the subject of violence in video games. This only caused Dana to once again be caught up in a controversy. I want to pause Dana's story for a minute and delve into our nerdy sides. Well, maybe your nerdy sides, because I really don't have one. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about Night Trap. Just because it ended up being a game changer, no pun intended, I think it's worth a mention. First, let's be clear, I don't play video games. I use my husband's video game console to watch Blu-rays and stream TV. But when I read about Dana's video game appearance, I was somewhat intrigued. Night Trap was a video game originally released by Sega in 1992. The player takes on the role of a special agent who is tasked to watch over a group of teenage girls who are visiting a house that is filled with danger unbeknownst to them. The player watches live surveillance footage of the house and then triggers traps to capture anyone that's endangering the girls. The antagonists are called, and I'm not really sure how to pronounce this, it's spelled Augers, Augurs, which are vampire sort of creatures who are trying to capture the girls for their blood. The actual filming of the video game took place in 1987, which Dana had starred in over a period of 16 days. But the game was shelved due to its high production costs. The footage was later purchased by a producer who founded Digital Pictures and moved the project onto the Sega CD add-on for the Sega Genesis. Night Trap was initially released as the very first interactive movie on the Sega CD, but it received mixed reviews. It was praised for its B-movie-esque quality, warped humor, and smooth video animation, but it was criticized for its subpar gameplay. Night Trap became well known for being one of the main subjects of a 1993 U.S. Senate committee hearing on violent video games, along with Mortal Kombat. It was referred to during the hearing as a game that promoted gratuitous violence and sexual aggression against women. Toy retailers pulled the games from its shelves by December of 1993, and by January, Sega completely pulled the game from shelves. The Senate hearing led to the creation of the Entertainment Software Ratings Board, which is still used today. After the controversy died down, Night Trap was re-released but received negative reviews again for the dated material. Just this past August 15, 2017, Night Trap was re-released in honor of its 25th anniversary. Dana was one of the very first celebrities to star in a video game. Despite the fact that Night Trap wasn't a great commercial success, it continues to be celebrated as a pioneering title because it was the first game to use live actors, particularly Dana, a relatively well-known personality. It was also one of the first video games to have mature content, hence the controversy that followed. At the time Dana was filming scenes for the video game, she made no attempt to hide the fact that this was a huge step down for her in terms of a career move, having achieved such tremendous success on different strokes. I get kind of sad to think that Dana, in making this video game, that she really could have carved out a niche for herself in this genre. It was so groundbreaking at the time, and continues to be acknowledged today as such. And she really was never able to see how ahead of the times she actually was back then. Back to Dana's attempts to reignite her career. Following the cancellation of her Vegas review and the string of B movies and the release of the video game, Dana tried her hand at working on stage in theater productions, but that didn't seem to work out either. Dana's reputation, rumors of rampant drug use, and criminal activity prevented her from finding quality work. Dana was notorious for her behavior, and despite the fact that she had been an adored, much sought-after child star, as an adult, casting directors quickly looked past her. It was just one disappointment after another, and her existence became ever so lonely and isolated. And she desperately missed her son, Tyler. Dana finally decided to try and refocus her energy on him. She moved back to Oklahoma to live with her son and her ex-husband, and she had a plan laid out for herself. Moving to Oklahoma and trying to distance herself from chasing after a career that kept eluding her, she had her mind set on becoming the textbook definition of a mom for Tyler. For about 1 year, she was able to do it. She was finally there for her son, 100%. As Tyler's grandmother would put it, Dana gave Tyler the best year of his life. She took him to school and picked him up. This doesn't really sound like a big deal to those of us who did it every single day for 13 years or more. We might possibly take that task for granted, but to our children, it's seriously like the biggest deal in the world to have your mom or dad send you off to school and then greet you when school is dismissed for the day. I will never forget this one time when my daughter was in elementary school. Her father and I split up when she was 4. Full disclosure, he had a similar struggle as Dana did, which led to our split. But he had his moments when he tried to pull himself together enough to be there for her once in a blue moon. I was working full-time, so I'd drop her off at school each morning and my parents would pick her up every day. Well, there was this one day when she was in first grade that he promised he would pick her up. I talked to him. I made him swear up and down that he was going to be there. Told him where to park and what gate to go to. Everything. Well, guess what? He flaked out. He called my mom and dad, and he didn't even have the balls to call me. He called them and told them that he couldn't pick her up. My dad told me that when Evelyn saw them at the gate instead of her father, she burst into tears, ripped the car door open, and slammed her backpack into the car. That was really the first time I truly understood what it felt like to be disappointed by your parent. So when the Biography Channel documentary about Dana's life cut to an interview with Tyler, and the first thing he said was that she dropped him off at school and picked him up, I immediately flashed back to that day that my daughter was so let down by her dad. Because of such a mundane thing millions of us do every day for our kids, we don't really think about it being that big of a deal. We may even think of it as a chore. I just wanted to remind all my friends out there listening with school-age kids, nothing you do for your children is mundane to them. That day my daughter threw her backpack into my parents' car and burst into tears is still, to this day, the most intense reaction she's ever had to anything that's ever happened. I'll never forget it. Unfortunately, for Dana, immersing herself into motherhood, like everything else she tried to remain steady for, was fleeting. As hard as she tried to keep herself together for Tyler, after about a year in Oklahoma, Dana found herself tempted back by the lure of Hollywood once again. She missed the attention, the spotlight, being recognized, giving autographs. Unable to find the kinds of legitimate work she once had, she began appearing in low-budget adult films. She also appeared in a magazine called Girlfriends, where she came out as a lesbian. However, this was something that she later recanted. This is kind of speculation on my part, but that was likely another one of her attempts, not only seeking attention, but an attempt to seek love and companionship every which way she could. Dana's battle with substance abuse continued to rage on in the background while she struggled to find any kind of acting opportunities. But without much work, support, family, or any kind of structure, complicated with a string of short-term relationships both with men and women as rumors continued to circulate about Dana, her life was once again quickly spiraling out of control. By 1996, Dana was no longer bothering to hide her lifestyle or her bad habits from Tyler, who was now 12 years old. As he would say in an interview with Biography, he said that it was about the time that he began to realize that there was something problematic with his mom, and he began to develop an understanding of what was going on with her. Dana, in order to sustain her drug habit, had gone from marijuana and cocaine and alcohol to prescription pills and crack. Tyler took notice that his mom's physical appearance had deteriorated. The house was a complete wreck all the time. This poor child. He'd even go on to describe how he'd often find little rocks on the bathroom floor. And at the end of 1997, Dana appeared in a softcore porn video called Different Strokes, The Tale of Jack and Jill, where she played a woman involved in a love triangle with a woman and a man. None of this was boding well for Dana. As her life continued to go off the rails, she sunk deeper and deeper into her addiction. By 1998, Dana had one last chance to pull herself out of the endless cycle of trying to get off drugs, looking for legitimate work, being rejected, headed straight back for the drugs again, and repeat. One more person wanted to take a chance on Dana, wanted to see her out of this mess she had been in for more than a decade. Dana's friend and former child star himself, Johnny Whitaker, best known for his role as Jody Davis on the show Family Affair from 1966 to 1971, offered to manage Dana if she promised to stay drug-free. As he put it, he wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt because, unfortunately, a lot of people don't trust addicts and alcoholics to keep their promises to stay sober in order to work and be productive. Dana was thrilled at the prospect of having this renewed chance at acting again. She immediately agreed to stay clean from drugs and excitedly went to have brand new headshots done. I will post some of the pictures from that photo shoot on social media after this episode goes live. In them, you're able to get a glimpse of the real Dana Plato, the young woman America fell in love with on different strokes. Dana completely came alive in front of the camera. The pictures she took for a new portfolio were stunning. You would never think the woman in those images had been ravaging her body with drugs and booze for almost 20 years. She was so professional, and she was so connected. She was so alive. These photos captured the very essence of what had drawn people to her way back when she was a kid. Sadly, it was a way that Dana would never be seen again. These would be the last photos of Dana. After she took the pictures, she left the studio. She left Los Angeles and she disappeared once again, inexplicably. Johnny Whitaker, looking for her, tried calling her son. He explained that all he wanted to know is if his mom was okay. Tyler told her manager that she was there with him, back in Oklahoma, that she was fine, but she did not want anyone to know where she was. I couldn't find any more information as to what happened between the time she took those last photos and when she ended up back in Oklahoma. But if I were to guess, I'd put my money on the lure of drugs once again. It very well may have been the desire to be close to her son again, but my gut's telling me it was the drugs. And she didn't want her manager to know that she was unable to keep her promise to stay clean. It was this time back in Oklahoma that Dana would meet Robert Menchaca in a bar, and within a few days, she was engaged to him. With the very last of the money she had in a childhood trust fund, Dana bought a motorhome for her and Robert to live in. And whatever money she had left over from that trust fund that she cashed out, she continued buying drugs. Her drug use had gotten worse than it had ever been in the past. She was getting older. She was wearing her body down by constantly poisoning herself with drugs. And sadly, Dana experienced an overdose event in her son's grandmother's house. And what's even more sad is that her son was the one to discover her laying flat on her back on the bathroom floor, with those gurgling sounds coming from her. He yelled for his grandmother, and as he stood there over her, he watched her eyes roll back into her head. His grandmother grabbed the shower head and turned the water onto her, and she suddenly woke up, and whatever had come over her in that moment was done. My heart breaks for Tyler so much when I think about him experiencing this, having to see his mom in such a state. It's just heartbreaking. So, Fast forward to the spring of 1999. Dana got a call from an event promoter in New York. He wanted her to promote a concert on the Howard Stern show, to which she agreed. This is another one of those moments you just wish you could freeze and reach back in time and put your hands on Dana's shoulders and scream at her not to do this show, right? Those of you who are familiar with Dana's story know what I'm talking about. For those of you who aren't, I'll give you the brief summary of what happened. On Friday, May 7th, 1999, Dana appeared on the Howard Stern show, and she was excited about going, hoping to get back into the public life. For those of you who don't know who Howard Stern is, he's an American radio and television personality. He's best known for the radio show in which Dana appeared, The Howard Stern Show. He's also known for being what's called a shock jock, a radio show host that's crude, obnoxious, rude, and often controversial. He's one of the highest fined radio hosts ever, with FCC-issued fines totaling close to $2.5 million levied against the radio station owners for the content deemed indecent. I am not a fan. All I can say, in all honesty, the only time I've listened to Howard Stern is when I listened to his interview with Dana Plato. And it is so cringeworthy to listen to, especially when you know how this story ends. Dana knew what Howard Stern was all about, but she rolled the dice and took this chance to try and boost her career once again. With Howard and his sidekick Robin, Dana talked about her life. She discussed her financial problems and her run-ins with the law. She fessed up to being a recovering alcoholic and drug addict, but she claimed to have been sober for more than 10 years by that point, and was not using any drugs with the exception of prescribed painkillers due to a recent tooth extraction. Several callers called to insult, humiliate, and ridicule Dana, and challenged her claims of sobriety. Nobody believed her, and I can't say that I don't blame them. Her history of drug abuse has been pretty well documented in the media, especially the tabloid media. Everyone knew that there was no way she had been clean for 10 years. I would even guess that the fact that Dana had so blatantly lied about being clean brought out the worst in callers. As opposed to if she had admitted that she was still struggling with drug abuse issues, callers may have been more likely to be sympathetic. One caller was badgering Dana to take a drug test on the show, and Howard pressured her into pulling out some of her hair so that they could send it to the lab. There were some callers that called in that were very supportive and uplifting to Dana, which immediately brought Dana to tears. In listening to these moments, you can just see how hard Dana struggled with insecurity, and just what a sensitive soul she was in those moments when people reached out to her to tell her that they cared and admired her. It's so sad. So very, very sad. Howard sort of seemed to come to Dana's defense with the more abrasive callers, but I don't know. He comes off as disingenuous to me. At the very end of the show today, I will play the entire audio recording of Dana's interview on Howard's show. It's about a half hour long, so if you're interested in hearing it, I'll play it after all the outro stuff. I think it's worth a listen. To hear Dana in her last interview, if you just listen to this girl, so broken and so desperately searching for some kind of love, on the Howard Stern show of all places. You just want to travel through time and space and hug Dana so hard. Either that or slap Howard even harder. She called her son's grandmother after being on the show and cried so much about what had happened to her. Dana was humiliated, and she was devastated. The very next day, on May 8, 1999, Dana flew back to Oklahoma where her fiancé Robert was with their RV. They were headed for California but stopped in Oklahoma to visit with Tyler and his grandmother for Mother's Day. At some point during that day before Mother's Day, Dana had gone to lie down inside the RV for a nap, which was parked outside her ex-mother-in-law's house. And Dana never came back out. She died of an overdose of painkillers and muscle relaxants, one day before Mother's Day. Although her death was an overdose, it was ruled a suicide. Dana was 34 years old. Tyler waited all day Sunday for his mom to come see him. They hadn't gotten the news yet that his mom was never coming over again. At her memorial service, Dana finally received what had escaped her for her entire life: the love, praise, and adoration of hundreds and hundreds of people who turned out to pay their final respects. Following his mother's death, Tyler, not surprisingly, struggled to come to terms with her untimely passing. After turning 15, he became somewhat of an out-of-control teenager. He himself began experimenting with drugs and alcohol, which resulted in some stints in rehab for him. This continued on for over a decade following Dana's death. His efforts to drown his own pain and sorrow in abusing substances. Tragically, in this sad footnote to Dana's heartbreaking tale, 2 days shy of the 11th anniversary of his mother's death, Dana's only child died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. In a note his grandmother found in his room after his death, he had written, "The only moments of happiness for me are when I'm real high and don't think about the past, or I'm real drunk and I'm not able to." Tyler was 25 years old. Dana Plato's story is very much a cautionary tale of the perils of being a child star. We've seen it time and time again, children who have found fame at a young age who had difficulty transitioning from teen years into adulthood. I had previously discussed the career of one, Robert Blake, a few episodes back. Going from the Our Gang fame, landing some big movie roles, but once he became a teen, the roles became scarce. There are a laundry list of child stars I could sit here and rattle off as they struggled as they got older. Michael Jackson, Lindsay Lohan, Macaulay Culkin, Drew Barrymore, Corey Haim, Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears, Jodie Sweetin, Dustin Diamond. There are so many more. What exactly are the factors that cause these kids so much difficulty as they begin to move away from their childhood roles in search of new projects? There are several. The degree to which a child is being manipulated for financial gain. The pressure put on the child by pushy parents. The age at which the child has to begin to deal with the pressures of fame. The levels of emotional support the child receives from family, friends, their agent and/or managers. The amount of time the child spends being well known for their work, and how this all ends, if either by choice or if the child is no longer being offered work, the environment in which the child is working, if there is an influence of older celebrities they're working closely with, the degree to which the child is able to exercise autonomy in relationships as to whether he or she works or not, the degree to which the parents want their child to be famous and for what reasons, how much the child is being exposed to the celebrity lifestyle of partying and possibly drinking and using drugs, and the amount the child is being isolated from being a normal kid. In addition to all these factors, child stars also need to be able to cope with jealousy, not only from their peers, but also their siblings, also by other adults, other older actors who may be relatively unsuccessful, and possibly even from their own parents. This happened to Robert Blake, as I had discussed in episodes 6 and 7. They have to cope with an intense public scrutiny, a loss of privacy, unwanted attention, pressures to maintain a certain image, fear of not getting any work once they reach a certain age, the prospect of having to adjust to a life after becoming a star, and trying to control becoming overly self-important and arrogant. There is a saying about people who reach the pinnacle of their careers. When they've achieved the stardom they so badly sought, and when they finally get there, it's lonely at the top. In delving into the life of Dana Plato, it is very easy to see just exactly what that saying means. Thank you again so very much for joining me on this 11th episode of California Dreaming. I would like to take the time to thank the latest 5-star reviews on iTunes, Seatown Soldier and Chelsea from Based on a True Crime. And just in case you haven't listened to her podcast yet, she and her co-host David combine her love of true crime with David's love of horror movies, and voila, Based on a True Crime. In one of their recent episodes, they tell you the story behind In Cold Blood, the movie based on the Truman Capote book starring Robert Blake himself. You get the whole story behind the crime and the book and the movie that were inspired by it, and also the most acclaimed role of Blake's career. They give California Dreaming an awesome nod as they direct their listeners to our two-parter on Robert Blake and Bonnie Lee Bakley. So check them out if you're into true crimes turned into movies. I would also like to remind you that California Dreaming is now proudly a part of the Orbital Jigsaw family of podcasts, an eclectic group of outstanding podcasts from a variety of genres like The Concession Stand, a weekly podcast where hosts Nick and Andy geek out over all things entertainment, or Busted Wide Open, where hosts Nick and Sir Ian Dangerous bring you all the hottest news in sports entertainment and pro wrestling. Or Super Nerds UK, where hosts Ben, Ian, Tim, and Simon take an irreverent look at pop culture. Or Historium, a podcast devoted to telling the strange, obscure, or otherwise interesting stories from history. And the Dirty Bits podcast. Join host Tawny Plattis each week for her casual retellings of the sexy, scandalous, and salacious stories your history teacher likely left out. If any of these sound good to you, check those out on www.orbitaljigsaw.com. And please don't forget to check out California Dreaming's Patreon page. If you would like to help support the show, as well as some causes that are near and dear to us here, you may pledge as little as $1 a month, and you can be the proud recipient of a brand new show sticker, as well as some future perks I'm hoping to have available in the near future. You can also help support the show by leaving reviews on iTunes, interacting with us on social media, and spreading the word about California Dreaming and the Orbital Jigsaw Network. And lastly, feel free to join in on all the social media fun. Follow me on Facebook at the California Dreaming discussion page, on Twitter at California Pod, and on Instagram at California Dreaming Pod. We share all things true crime related and pets, so visit us there anytime. Don't forget, after this, I'm going to play the half-hour interview between Howard Stern and Dana Plato. So if you're interested in that, stick around. Otherwise, fast forward through this and move on to your next podcast. There are just a couple more things I'd like to add before I end the show. I just got word that there is yet another exciting addition to the Orbital Jigsaw Network family of podcasts. The Is This Adulting podcast by hosts Stephen and Chris. They utilize comedy in an effort to break down the stigma of mental illness. We are so excited to welcome them to our pod family. I also have a quick promo to play for you. It's a true crime podcast called Kiwi Crimes by my super good friend and roomie, Jess. Here, take a listen.
Kia ora, I'm Jess, the host of the Kiwi Crimes podcast. Each week, I'll share a missing persons or murder case from New Zealand. I discuss cases that are well known, as well as cases that you might not have heard of. Some cases will be recent and ongoing, others will be cold. A new episode or mini-sode releases every Wednesday. You can find Kiwi Crimes anywhere you get your podcasts. I hope you'll join me as I explore the crimes that rock New Zealand. Ka kite anō.
Thank you again, dreamers, and until next time, sweet dreams.
Dana Plato appeared on the show Different Strokes.
Came into our living rooms every week as a little girl. We watched her grow up.
As a child, she was in hundreds of commercials. She was also a champion ice skater before Different Strokes. She almost went to the Olympics.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
She didn't go because of Different Strokes. She was busy working. She even won the lead in the film The Exorcist. Her mom wouldn't let her do it. She was discovered by the producers of Different Strokes when she did The Gong Show and was reported to be making up to $100,000 an episode on Different Strokes toward the end.
Wow.
And somehow she, I don't know.
Well, she got pregnant at a young age. Got thrown off the show.
Got thrown off the show.
Struggle ever since.
Yeah. So now, the last time we spoke on the phone to her lesbian lover, the lesbian lover was reporting her missing.
And she said she looked terrible and she was near death.
And now she's here. Appearing May 21st and 22nd in Chicago at the Expo of the Extreme.
What's that?
It's a mega concert. It includes Motorhead and Fang. So here is Dana Plato. Looking good.
Doesn't look like she's near death.
Hi, Dana. How you doing? You don't look near death. I look near death, actually.
Right, we look in worse shape.
How are you, Dana?
I'm well, thanks.
Good to see you. Here, get the microphone.
Thanks for having me
I
back.
heard you were nervous to come in.
Well, hell yeah.
Yeah, everyone would be nervous. Julia Roberts was nervous.
But why would Dana be nervous? She's been with us before.
Right. So, yeah, you've been on the show before, right?
Listen, I remember that quite well.
Yes, you do. So what happened? Have you become a full-blown-out lesbian?
Well, heck no.
You haven't?
No. This was just a good friend of mine. It's a total misunderstanding.
You guys are not sexual lovers?
No.
Oh, really?
No, I don't know what this girl's... I don't know what's going on with her, really. I feel bad for her. You know, I do.
You're not into lesbianism?
No.
Have you ever tried it?
Well, we've all tried everything, but no.
Yes, that is true.
I've squatted the fence a few times, you know, but...
Right. But you've never, so why is this girl...
I'm engaged to be married.
Are you really?
Yes,
To who?
To a man named Mr. Robert Menchaca, a wonderful man.
And where did you meet him? Here in Manhattan?
No, I met him in Oklahoma City.
White guy?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, no, he's my weight conscious Hispanic. That's what I
he's
call him.
Hispanic?
Yes.
I see. So you are engaged.
Yes.
Well, this might be the answer to all your problems, actually.
What do you mean?
Well, she could have a man supporting her. You sit home, get fat.
Then he could call in.
Then he can call in and scream as you take half his money. Is it true you made over $100,000 an episode on Different Strokes?
At one time, yes.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, really.
Where'd all that money go?
Yeah, is it gone?
Yeah, well, I had after my mother passed away and my husband left all in the same week.
Right.
And I had no clue what to do with myself. You know, I
Right.
didn't know everyone ran everything for me.
Right.
I didn't realize what I was doing, but I had signed over a power of attorney.
To who?
An accountant.
And what did the accountant spend all your money?
He somehow liquidated it to himself. He took it.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
And did you sue him?
We couldn't find him. He left with about $11 million $11 million of other people's money also.
Wow.
And we looked for him for a long time, and, well, you have to
he
let
just
things go.
disappeared.
The authorities cannot find this man.
We had not so far. It's been years.
I don't believe this.
Yeah.
How is that? How is that possible? The authorities can find anybody. That's a lot of money.
No, but people do erase themselves.
Yes.
Yeah, and he did.
I'm looking to do that to myself.
No.
So other celebrities lost over $11 million combined?
No, I don't know about celebrities, but...
All of his clients.
Yeah.
And all of your money was gone?
Yeah, but that's how I lost it all, yes. And then I had a small stash. I had about $125,000 stashed,
I see.
which I still have stashed, and I will not touch.
Right. Now, when you were, the last time I saw you, you were, I'm trying to think, when you did the Playboy spread.
Yeah.
All right. The Different Strokes thing ended, did the Playboy spread, and then you, then the last thing I read was that you had robbed a video store or something,
And
right?
he went to jail for a little while.
Right.
Oh, well, Haley, I'm a bad criminal. Heck, I turned myself in.
Right. You did.
I'm not good at that criminal thing.
It really shocked me because you could have gotten away with it. You turned yourself in.
Turn myself in. I can't live with that kind of thing. I'm not about that, you know.
You're not. You just got crazed from the drugs? Is that it?
No. Really what it was just being very lost. I was lost.
You were lost.
Completely. I had no...
Yeah, I mean, it was just videos, wasn't it?
You stole videos. You didn't even steal cash, did you? Did you steal any cash?
That is great. It's the videos, man. It's the videos.
Right. Did you steal any cash?
No, well, yes, I did.
You did.
It was funny too because when I walked into the store, I was very calm about it, and she was on the phone with her boyfriend in jail.
Right.
You know, well,
Yes.
you're not going to believe who was in my store robbing me. Dana Plato from Different Strokes.
Wow.
It was so.
It's exciting.
When I look back on it, it's funny. It really is.
You have beautiful breasts, by the way. Have I ever told you that? They're nice.
Thank you.
They're very nice.
You've embarrassed her.
No, that's not embarrassing. Women love to hear that.
Go away.
They love to know they have nice cans.
Go away.
Don't you think? That's a nice thing to say, isn't it?
Thank you.
Of course. I remember I saw your cans. You did that movie. It was kind of like it was more than R-rated. It was like kind of X-rated.
Well, you know what happened there.
No.
Well, here I was going to do a bad B movie, right?
Right.
I had a love scene with a woman. Our nipples touched. It went X.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Doesn't that just go with my life?
Yes.
You know,
So you made love to a woman on screen.
but in a movie, it's a movie type thing,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
under the sheets and all, but our nipples touched.
Right.
So it went X.
It went X. Wow.
So now I'm a porn star.
Right. So that
know?
made you a
Yeah,
porn star.
Exactly. But they invited me to the porn convention.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that'd be a kick, so I said, why not? You know, I
right.
just got a kick out of that. That just tickled me to death.
Would you ever consider doing porn?
No,
You would not. That's something you weren't into.
no, I'm not ready to cross that line.
I see.
You know, no.
Right. So okay.
So what have you been doing?
Well, wait a second. So when this woman
I'm
called
sorry.
me, when this woman called me on the phone, this woman who said she was your lover,
Yes.
and she was in the Inquirer as well.
Those pictures, those pictures in the Inquirer?
Yes.
I'll tell you something about that.
Yeah.
We never once took a picture together. I don't know where she got those photos. I was in a hotel. I had left her.
I
And
see.
how she got those, I have no clue. That was a total invasion of privacy.
She said she was nervous about you, that you were crazed.
She's trying to make herself look real good.
All right. So have you been in psychotherapy? Have you been on any medication or
I have
anything
been
like that?
sober for the longest time.
Really?
Oh, it's over a decade now.
No kidding.
No joke.
So you weren't doing any crack or anything
Oh,
with her?
hell no.
No.
And
No.
people weren't coming to try to find you, to pick you up and get you into rehab?
Oh, they can all bite me.
Really? I'll bite you. So you're telling me that this whole story in the Inquirer is complete fabrication?
It's no joke. Yes, it is.
But you lived with her.
Yes, I did.
You did.
She was my roommate for a while,
But
yes.
you were not lovers.
No.
So when she was screaming, "Where is Dana? I want to find her. I need Dana Plato."
Yeah, so she can kick my butt again, maybe.
Did she
Has she
kick your
beat you
butt?
up?
Oh, she did. That's why I left her.
You left her because she kicked your butt.
Yes, she sure did.
Right. And when you say left her, you mean you sound like almost like a lover of hers. When
I
you say
left. No, I left the situation. I left.
Right. You removed yourself from the situation.
Yes, I left all my things and just left.
And that's it. And you moved to New York.
No,
You didn't.
no, I didn't. I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, you did. Everyone
Yes.
thought you were in New York because you were spotted being in New York.
Oh, I've been missing for a long time. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
so, you know.
And when you moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, there was no drug use. There was nothing like that.
No, I had been clean and sober for over a decade.
And so you haven't touched anything.
No.
So why did it say in the Inquirer that you were needed for rehab? You think that this person was just lying?
I know she was.
Really?
It's very sad to me because I really think she has a problem. I do. She's got
Didn't
a
she
big
also
problem.
say that Dana ran off with some of her stuff?
Yeah, and she said you ran off with her stuff, but you're saying all lies. You're denying all of that.
I really am. I have nothing against Jennifer at all.
Right.
Nothing. In fact, I'd like to see her get some help.
I see. So you're claiming she needs help, not you.
I'm not really claiming anything. It's just that it's a bad situation. I really have no clue how all that came about. Maybe it's because maybe she did want me and I didn't know it.
Now,
There's, because the story's coming back to me now that she said that she had been sober and you were threatening her sobriety because of your usage.
Hello.
and you're saying that's completely false.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I'm not here to say, I'm God or I'm saint. No.
I'm here to say that.
Okay.
About me. But you're here to say what? That you're just living your life.
I'm living my life.
And how are you supporting yourself now?
Oh, I still work.
You do? What do you do?
I do films. I've been doing some bad B movies.
Right.
and I'd like to get back into my singing.
I see.
And stuff and I'm also modeling.
And you hear from these, what kind of modeling?
Well, just some modeling.
Nude modeling?
No.
No?
No.
What do you mean modeling?
Well, I've done 2 ads for Victoria's Secret.
Really?
Yeah, and I've done
In lingerie?
Yeah, because I'm short.
Yes.
It's more things like catalogs and stuff like that.
Wow. Wow. All right, so
She looks great.
This is a whole different...
We were told that you were like a bag lady who was near death's door.
Thank you. I'll always be a bag lady, Always. I'm a bag lady at heart. Always. Always got a bag of something.
Wow, well, this is quite a comeback. And you wear a bikini in these lingerie ads?
Yeah, or little stuff,
Yeah, you got a good body, right? Because you were obviously a skater. I didn't know you were an Olympic skater.
Oh, well, I made it on the Nationals. I placed in Nationals, made it on the team, and then got different strokes. My mom made the choice for me.
Why did your mom know? Why did your mom not let you be the lead in The Exorcist?
Or Pretty Baby.
Yeah, why?
Oh, it was a good choice, I think.
Exorcist?
Yeah, I think it was a good choice.
You do?
Yes.
It was a great movie. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
Well, look how she's been typecast.
Well, yes, but so what? I mean, that's her. Doesn't have to be you. You still could have gotten different strokes.
Pretty Baby didn't hurt Brooke Shields.
No, she's doing fine.
Sure, I was too young, though.
I see.
I was just too young.
So you're saying, hold on, let me get a tissue here because I have to...
You're crying.
I'm crying over this. This is very sad. Excuse me. I don't want to be snotting during the interview. So then you moved to Texas and you met some guy. Is that it? This is the guy you're engaged to?
Yes, Robert. Oh, he's wonderful. Oh, he's just fabulous.
A rich guy?
No, it doesn't matter about money. Wealth to me is in the heart.
Well, he's got a nice diamond ring on you there. He must have some dough. What does he do?
He takes good care of me. He manages my career.
No, I'm saying, he's a manager. He's managing you.
He manages me. He was in traffic control. And
Traffic control?
Right.
A cop?
What's that?
You mean he helps school crossings?
No, build bridges and stuff like that. The highway.
Oh, I see.
Like an engineer?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now he manages my career.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's not doing too much, right? Because, I mean, how hard is it to manage your career? You just book something into...
No, see, I can't do my own. Because
You can't?
I don't want to be the bad guy because I like to work with the people on a friendly level.
I see. So let him handle the business.
Right.
I see. Well, what do you know about that?
How long have you known this guy?
About 6 months.
6 months
And
and you're
already
engaged?
he's managing your career?
He treats me like a goddess. He's beautiful to me.
Did you sign power of attorney?
No.
No. Okay.
Hell no.
All right.
Never again.
Wow.
All right.
Watch him closer than you watch the accountant. Why not? Listen.
Oh, no, I don't.
Him you trust.
He's beautiful, no.
You like him. All right. And a young guy? How old a guy is this guy?
28.
28.
I'm lucky. I know. I still got it, baby.
And what are you, about 34 or so?
Yeah, 34.
34? You got a 28-year-old. Well,
Boy, but it's just amazing how those different strokes kids always wind up in the newspaper. We thought Gary Coleman would only wind up in the newspaper because of his illness, and now he's been to trial because of his...
Can I please say something?
yeah, let's hear something.
Could he have reached that woman? No.
You don't think he could beat her up?
Come on. Did you see the size of that woman?
Yeah, she's very tall.
Thank you very much.
Right.
It's not in his nature to do that.
I see. You know him very well.
Yes, it's not at all.
Are you in touch with these guys at all, or is it all over between the three of you?
Well, we speak. No, I still speak with everybody.
Right.
Last time I saw something on television about Todd saying I wanted to get help, and it's like I'm thinking, help? What help? Yeah, to get work maybe.
Right. Right.
But other than that, my life is so good. I've never been happier.
Really?
Yes.
Well, there it is. All right, let's take a couple of phone calls. We are talking to Dana Plato. She is going to be in Chicago at the Expo of the Extreme, which is a mega concert including Motorhead and Fang. And if you need more info, call the Expo hotline at 409-3600. What are you going to do at this concert?
I'm not quite sure, but doesn't it just go with all the controversy? You
Right.
know?
So you're going to just show up and introduce some of the bands? Is that it?
Sure.
You don't even know what you're going to be doing there.
Not quite, but I'm there.
Right. You're just going to go there paying you, and why not?
I really love this man, Shane. He's wonderful. He's been very good to me.
He's the promoter?
Yes, he is.
I see.
Yes.
He asked you to appear
Yes.
there. All right.
And I guess I'll be signing autographs and introducing, and stuff.
Some of the bands. Okay. Yes,
Hopefully I
Todd.
get to sing with them.
Todd, you're on the air. This is not Todd Bridges, is it? Todd?
Yeah.
Are you Todd Bridges?
No.
No. Okay. Go ahead. Ask your question of Dana.
Hi, Todd.
Get this girl out of here. She's a has-been.
Oh, please.
Come on.
Oh.
She just needs to admit that she's an ex-druggie,
Yeah.
ex-con, lesbian with mental health problems.
So that's your impression of her?
Yeah.
Well, she denies that she's a
I
lesbian.
don't deny anything.
She's trying to resurrect her career.
Well, what's wrong with
Trying
that?
to make some money again.
No, excuse
There's
me.
nothing wrong with that if you're honest.
I'm honest. I am a drug addict,
on.
alcoholic. I am always in recovering. Okay,
Right.
I am recovering. Alcoholic,
You're an
drug addict.
alcoholic, ex-con, lesbian with mental health problems.
Have you ever done
Oh,
weird...
do you know this for sure, sir?
Absolutely not.
Okay, then how can you
That's
make
what
those
it sounds like.
accusations?
Yeah, really. That's a little tough, isn't it? Don't you think?
Well,
Why is everybody so tough? What
I am
have you ever done, Todd?
No, I am very, very honest about who I am, who I've been, who I will be, who I am now.
doesn't sound like it.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry to offend
All
you,
right,
sir.
well,
I'm really
Todd-
very sorry. Have a nice day.
Todd and you have a problem, I think.
Sheesh.
Probably take that up off
Really,
the air.
Todd, I'm sorry if I've offended you at all.
Joe, you're on the air. Go ahead. But Dana played that. Yes.
Hi, Dana.
Hey,
I was just wondering, I mean, you sound a little wired on the radio. I don't know if it's just being 8 o'clock in the morning and all, but I know you say you're recovering for 10 years and all, but it just sounds like you're really speedy.
why don't you ask everyone around here, do I look high?
Let me look. You do? She does, Jackie?
Her eyes are the size of
Oh, they are?
Well,
Oh, no.
I don't know. You know what? I'm bad at telling if somebody's high. I'm not copping out here.
Right.
You don't really look high to me, but then again, Jackie doesn't.
No,
I know he is.
And
Yeah.
most of the
Yeah. Do you think Dana looks high?
No, the consensus out here, I don't know that she's high, but she does seem a little wired. Maybe that's just her personality.
I think she's excited.
I'm very nervous.
She's excited. I don't think you look high. I really don't. You seem pretty clear.
Yeah, just from the radio, it sounds like she's just really, really speedy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always naive about this stuff. People, like I'll meet Jimi Hendrix, and I think he looks pretty good.
Yeah, but everybody thinks we're on drugs.
Yeah, it's true
No,
too.
you guys aren't.
I've been accused of being on heroin.
Jackie.
That's true.
On heroin.
Have you ever done heroin, Dana?
Hell no.
What'd you do, coke?
Nope. Anything
Dropped a
speedy.
couple drops.
Anything speedy is not my choice of drug.
That's not your thing.
Because I'm too hyper.
Right. Drinking was nice.
Yes,
Do you miss the drinking?
I think about it.
You do, yeah.
Yes, I do. Well, instead I'll go to the gym and work out.
Oh, that's good. Well, there you go. Yeah, she's
Oh,
not high.
stop! What?
Would you like a drink? I'll give
No,
you one. I'm
thank
an
you.
enabler. I don't know if you know that about me. All right. Let's see if.
Thank you, sir, for telling me that. I do need to slow down.
I want to say to Dana, I'm the one that saw her a while back when she was on St. Mark's a while back. I was wondering if she was still sleeping with that black guy that she was with a couple whiles ago, and if she's still cracked up on all those pills. She definitely sounds like a washout.
Well, no. She says she's not high anymore.
He says he saw her on St. Mark's.
Hey, you want a UA? I'll do a UA right now.
What's a UA?
A urine test.
You're in another.
Yeah, really?
I'll do it right now.
Oh, your head up. You knock your headphones up.
I will do
You will
it.
do a urine test?
I will do it right
All
now.
right, Gary, get me a cup, please. Really, I believe you.
Stop.
I mean, she looks really bad. I mean, besides the
She
bags
looks
under
great.
her eyes.
No, she looks
You
good.
didn't see Dana Plato. You haven't been living in New York, have you?
No.
And she was living on the street.
Leave
That's
Gary
not
in here
living
with
in
the
New
club.
York.
How are you going to do a urine analysis? Where are you going to send it to?
He'll drink it.
Wait, what is this?
We have tons of people. We do, those DNA tests because when people sleep with each other.
Right.
So I have a lab.
Hey, Dana, maybe that would put all these rumors to rest if you took a urine test.
You know what? I shouldn't have to do that for people, but I will.
You will do it. Wow.
I will.
Dana,
Yes.
are you still sleeping with that black guy that you were sleeping with, or?
I don't even know what you're talking
were you
about,
even
sir.
sleeping with-
No, could you please explain that to me?
What do you mean, Todd Bridges or
Gary
Coleman?
Well, that was a rumor for a long time that she was double teaming the both of those.
Oh, get out of here. That's absurd. Yeah, go ahead.
No, well, that guy on the phone was saying that Dana took cash from him for an autograph.
Oh, I don't believe that. Do I believe that?
No.
Man, there's so many rumors swirling. I've never met anybody so
You know how
controversial.
hard it is for me to go through life? You don't even know.
Oh, I bet you I do know. It seems to me like everybody's attacking you.
That is why I moved out of the city.
You got out.
I'm gone. I'm done with that. See, I'm tired of defending my character.
I know.
I am who I am. What you see is what you get. What I
Right.
say is what I mean. This is it.
This is it.
You know?
Wow.
I'm about peace, man. That's about, you know?
Really?
Treat your neighbor right or recycle, you know?
You're into recycling?
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't do that.
I'm trying to get into that
All
myself.
I'm trying to say is that, and I do a lot of community service, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I'm
What kind of community service?
anything. When I was in LA, I fed the homeless.
You did?
Oh, yes. Yes, 3 times a week.
I never did that.
You're a good person.
Better than us.
I'm a nice girl. I'm a nice girl. I really am. And, you know,
Right.
these people can think what they want, and I do understand it's always been bad. It's
Right.
okay. I understand. And I really apologize if I really offended anybody. I'm sorry.
You didn't offend me.
I'm
Nothing could
sorry
offend
that
me.
y'all get the wrong impression, but I hope one day you get to meet me.
Julie, hi, you're on the air.
Hi. I just want to tell you that, first of all, everyone always calls in to insult the famous people who are on the show, and I totally think I think they just want to hear themselves speak. Dana, I think that you sound great, and I think that it's fantastic that you're feeling so good about yourself, because I know somebody who actually was a star on about 15 years ago as a teenager, and...
So you support Dana and you...
Excuse me?
You seem very
You have
upset.
touched her.
You have touched her. You're crying, I see.
This is the nicest thing, really. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
You've really taken a lot of crap, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll console you.
Well, I think you sound fabulous. I don't understand why people are all attacking you.
I don't either. I really don't. But if that's okay. It's
You might need to smoke a little weed.
Hey.
I'm telling
You
you.
know what's funny about that is when I did used to smoke pot,
Yeah.
people thought I was normal. Now that I'm straight, they think I'm on speed.
Wow.
No joke.
Ma'am, on the phone, are you a lesbian?
Me?
Yeah.
Absolutely not, no.
You were not.
It doesn't matter either way. But thank you so much.
Oh,
for
you're
that.
welcome. And you know what?
That was very
The
touching.
The person who I know who was a star, he is so screwed up right now, and he used to be a very good friend of mine, but I can't even be friends with him because he's all in love with me and he won't stop harassing me, so I can't even talk to him. He's got...
All right.
No, thank you very, very, very much.
All right. That really touched you. I see you're really crying real tears.
Wiping away tears.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
God bless you.
We have very few moments like that on the show.
Yeah, nothing touching happens here.
Yeah.
Only when you miss Jackie's plug.
Has she got an onion?
Thank you.
No, there's no onion. She's really crying.
Really?
Yeah.
There's such jaded people in this.
She got an onion. Would you like to sit on my lap and have me console you?
Not without an onion. No.
All right, let's take a couple more calls. It's fascinating. Rich, you're on the air. Dana Plato is with us, appearing May 21st and 22nd in Chicago at the Expo of the Extreme. Go ahead, Rich.
Howard, I got 2 points to make. First of all, somebody that doesn't do drugs does not marry somebody they only known for 6 months. Number 2, why don't you
That's
ask
not
her
true.
Why don't you get a urine sample from her, Howard?
We're going to get one.
Take a little.
You know what, sir? I'm not going to do
You are
that.
loaded. You're messed up. You're still doing drugs.
Oh.
You sure about that now? Are you sure about that?
Through that masquerade that you're putting on, you're lying.
I like that you're going to take a urine test. I think it's terrific.
I'll do it. You know, I'll do it, but I won't do it for him.
Not,
Negative, all right?
all right, well, let's bet on it. Would you bet him on it?
I'll bet.
I'll put
Right.
money on it.
You will.
How much?
How much?
How
See,
much you want? I'll put
this is what I
50 on it.
talk about. I
I'll
shouldn't
put
have to
50
defend my
bucks on it.
character all the time.
You shouldn't have to. But why not? Once you take the urine test, you'll never have to
Shut
again.
this guy
This will
up.
shut everyone up.
Exactly.
That is
so why
so
don't you
wrong.
Take it, Dana.
Oh,
Because of people like you, sir.
Yeah,
Wow.
people like me. That's
God bless you. I pray.
No, because you're full of.
you sound very religious, Dana. Have you had a religious
Not
conversion?
take it because you know you're going to fail it.
Hmm.
You're going to sin. Go right ahead. I'll send. The check is in the mail if you come up.
Check is in the mail. $50,000. You got it.
50,000.
You got 50,000 bucks?
I'm sorry. I can't. I don't.
Ah, you're backing
Money in the
down.
bank for you.
50,000.
Hey.
All right, 50. No. I'll put $100 on it.
No.
100.
200.
Nope.
Weasel.
I thought you really
You
believed.
know somebody hardworking. Like
I'll give you 200 bucks just to watch your peanut cup.
You know what? You think you're going to scare you back and make me back down because of that?
No, honey, I'm not trying to make you back down. I just don't think that I should have to
You're
defend my
doing
character
drugs.
with you.
Come clean. You're doing drugs. Take
All
the
right.
test.
Thank you. She said she's going to pee in the cup. You monster. Wow. Wow, you have more controversy than me.
Oh, it's horrifying. It's horrifying.
It's unbelievable. I didn't know all
That's
this.
why I moved to a small town out of Tulsa. I live in a population of maybe 600 people.
Smart. Do they know that you're Dana Plato, or you just changed
They
your
don't
name?
care.
They don't even care who you
And I
are.
love that.
What is a Bubba Boo High?
I just, Benji just ran down to Dwayne Reed. They sell a test.
A urine test?
No, unfortunately, I still would like her to urinate a cup, but
No, is there a urine
no,
test?
it's a hair test.
What do you do?
You pull out a hair,
Right.
and it tests for drugs. I remember reading about this, and it's an over-the-counter test.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's like the
Good.
Listen,
Let's test that.
I
Let's
have
take
no
that.
problem doing that, and I said, I'll talk to you. I have no problem doing that whatsoever. I just don't think that I should have to do it to prove myself again and again and again and again.
Well, why not do it, though, and shut all these naysayers up? Shut them up.
They're not worth it.
They're not?
No,
So
you are.
I
They're
am.
not.
Thank you. So you'll take the test for me?
Yes.
Oh, you will? Oh, I love that. So what are we going to do? Pull out her hair?
This is really a weird show.
This is a very weird show. This is taking on a weird vibe.
Jackie, your hair.
Pull out her hair and make her pee.
That's just
Let
ridiculous.
her pee in a cup and pull out her hair.
You know, I'm sorry. It's just absurd. This is absurd.
Hey, give Baba Booey a hair right now. Can you pull one out of your beautiful head? Go ahead. Let me see you do it. Let me
Which one
see
do you
it.
want?
No, the hair in your head. Can she use that hair in her lap? I'm sure it all works. Use the hair in your head. Give him a hair. And we'll test you.
Put it right here.
And we'll find out if you're on drugs once and for all. I believe
You
it.
pull out a hair? Oh, I would.
I can pull out hair. Oh, I do it. Oh, there it is. There's the hair. You got it, Baba Booey? Now press that hair. And let's have the
Get out of here.
How long does that take?
You probably have to send it away
It'll
to a
take Benji
lab.
5 minutes to get back up with it, and then we have to read it and see how long it takes.
All right, fine. I'll wait.
I can't believe I'm having to.
Say that on the radio.
I just did.
It's bull. You can say it's bull.
It's bull poop.
Bull pope.
Hey, now.
Adam, go ahead. Jason or Dana, whoever, I don't know, Tony.
Who's on the phone?
Who's on the phone? I'm all shook up. Yeah.
Hey, what do you know?
What do you say, bro?
Hey, Dana.
Yes.
Do you remember doing the Sally Jesse Raphael show?
Yes, sir, I do.
Like 1988, 89?
Yes, I do.
What was that? It was you and Adam Rich and a couple other people, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I used to work up there when you did it.
Well, what is your
What's the
point?
point?
Oh, well, they stayed at the Trumbull Marriott.
Who did?
And both of them. And then the next day, Adam Rich told one of the producers for the Sally Jesse Raphael show that they had sex all night.
Did you have sex with Adam Rich of the 8 is Enough show?
Hell no.
The little kid on there? You did not.
Well,
Not that anything's wrong with
No,
that.
hey, it's a compliment. Is it? It's a compliment towards me. But no, sir, I did not.
You did not have sex with him. Wow. Wow,
Well,
this
he
is some
was
show.
telling everybody. He had this little tiny grin on his face.
A tiny grin.
He was all happy about
Well,
it.
he's a very tiny guy. All right, so you didn't have... Jason, go ahead.
Hey, Howard, how you doing?
All right.
Dane, I was just wondering if you ever had the opportunity of seeing Janet Jackson changing during the tapings of Different Strokes.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I have.
You shared a dressing room with Janet
She's a
Jackson?
gorgeous woman.
Gorgeous. You saw her nude? You did?
I'm not. I don't want to put her down because I have great respect for her, but she's a beautiful woman.
And you saw her nude?
She's a beautiful woman.
I'm asking if you saw her naked, though.
I don't want to say anything bad.
Oh, you
about
don't?
her.
Oh, why is that bad to
Because
say that?
that's disrespectful.
You just say you saw her naked? You two
It's-
women alone?
It's disrespectful. She's a beautiful lady.
That's it. That's all you'll
And I
say.
have a lot of respect for her.
But you shared a dressing room.
Yes. No, well, I mean, no, we didn't share a dressing room, but we had. She's a beautiful.
Were you physically attracted to her?
No.
No. All right. Well, there you go.
Can I get a pair of Woodstock tickets?
I don't have
We
any
don't
more.
have any more. In fact, we're trying to find some of the ones we gave away.
Yeah, we need some back. To tell you the truth.
How you
Thank
doing,
you.
Robin?
Good.
All right, one last phone call because you never know what you're going to get here. Yes, John, go ahead. You're on with Dana Plato, who's appearing May 21st and 22nd in Chicago at the Expo of the Extreme. And I think if you go see her, you'll see she looks very good.
Fine.
Well, the mega concert includes Motorhead and Fang.
And that's special.
Right. You can call 314-409-3600 or visit the website at Mike Hunt's on Fire.
What?
.com.
Is that for real?
Yeah. Yes, Mike Hunt's on Fire.
That's the website.
.com.
Jackie's very upset that he didn't think of that first.
Jackie Del Leon.
Killing me, y'all are killing me.
That's funny. What is it, John?
Something ain't right here, man. I don't sound like she's telling the truth.
Well, listen, you're not a...
What are you?
She just gave us a hair so
What
she
of
could...
me?
Yeah.
I'm the king of all correspondence.
All right. So
Are you?
Yeah.
How so?
journalism.
How so?
All right.
Well, I don't know. You just seemed like you were being kind of evasive about a few things.
Well, I think she answered... I mean, listen, I don't know if she answered honestly or not, but she certainly answered. She said she's not doing drugs. She said that she is working.
The wisdom
well, let me
teeth
just say,
count.
She said she's not a
The
lesbian.
wisdom teeth count.
Let me just say, I'm a big
Yes.
fan, actually.
Okay.
I enjoyed watching you in Different Strokes and all that. I just
Thank
want to say,
Right.
but, it doesn't sound like she's being totally honest about a few things, Howard.
Well,
What?
like what?
Gave her hair to
Like what isn't she being honest about? I mean, how would you know that?
Oh, the lesbian thing, she kind of really evaded that.
She said she's not a lesbian.
Not with
She
her.
said she's tried, not with her.
Not with her.
You've done it a few times.
You know, everyone's been. I think any woman who denies her sexuality, you know, denies that is denying her
That's what I tell Robin. She still won't do it.
Hey, Howard.
Right.
Hey, Howard.
Yes.
No, I'm
I
very
just wanted to say, all these people are still attacking you on this Colorado thing. They got it all wrong, man.
See, I'm under attack like Dana. It's unbelievable. We have a lot in common. Lori, what is it?
I wanted to ask Dana what happened to her kid.
Yeah, what happened to your kid? Now, you were fired from Different Strokes for getting pregnant. Is
Yes,
that right?
yes.
And you decided to have the kid.
Did she lose custody or something?
Did you lose custody of the kid?
No, I did not. He's home with me. I have him.
Oh, you do have
yes,
him.
I do. Yes.
How old a kid is he?
He's 14.
He is. And
He's
he,
wonderful. And I love you, Tyler.
She can't be doing drugs.
what?
She can't be doing drugs. They must test her, don't they?
Yes.
Interesting.
See?
Thank
Go
you.
Bobby, go Vipers. All right, Howard, we love you.
Thank you.
Whatever.
Well, there you go. So you got your kid. You lost custody for a while and then you had it? Who had custody of the kid?
His father.
Oh, he did. How'd you get him back?
Oh, we're not like that. Him and I don't go to court and do all that stuff. Whatever's good for Tyler. You know?
Oh, I see. So you get to live with him. Well, that's good. Well, there you go. Jim, go ahead.
Hey,
Yeah.
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Howard, I've been trying since 1989 to get through to you. It's nice to
Well, you're on. Go. What do you want to say?
I want to tell Dana, I'm also recovering, and I believe in you. I believe everything you said.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much.
That's not a problem at all. And Howard, if she starts to cry, I'm sure you can console her.
Well, I like that. She did start to cry again.
Thank you.
No onions in the studio. Huh?
And you're really hurting, huh? I mean, did you break out into tears so quickly?
It hurts, Howard. But you're
Tired, man.
recovering.
I'm
You're tired.
I'm just tired.
You're tired of the whole thing.
I'm tired of defending my character everywhere I go.
Did you ever consider suicide at one point?
Oh, hell no.
You never did. Never got that
I
bad.
got a beautiful boy, no.
Right. You would never do that.
I'm okay in my skin, you know?
Right.
I'm okay with who I am.
You feel good.
Need a date with Dana.
Dana?
Listen, I used to come home from school every day and watch you and just touch myself with Different Strokes. I love you.
All right. There you go.
Thank you for that.
Wow.
I'll be down there in an hour, Howard.
All right. Very good.
And Dana will be out of here
Is
shortly.
that cool?
All right. And you have and you have a nice sized genitalia?
7.5 inches.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Really
matter.
doesn't matter?
No,
Now I don't believe
love
you.
the man that I love.
You do.
Yes.
You're in love with him.
Very much so.
And he has big genitalia.
Yes, sir.
He does. All right. What is it, Baba Boohai?
So Benji just called me from the drugstore, and I guess there was a little confusion. They do have this task,
Yes.
but it's not immediate. You have to
I
send
know,
it. You have
that's
to
it.
send
You
it out.
send it away.
Oh,
But
all right.
if you want to give me the urine too, I can send both of them out.
Send everything out. Whatever you want. Send the hair out.
You know,
Hair is
it's
fine.
really not necessary. Hair is fine. That's great.
Okay.
Wait, wisdom teeth count. They do count because I had them out.
You did have the
Yes, and it wrecked my life for a while.
And
So
what'd you take for that?
I had to take stuff for that.
Percodan?
I had to. I had to. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe.
When did you get your wisdom teeth out?
18 weeks ago.
18 weeks ago. Well, we'll probably find something
The hair
out.
holds
The
us
hair
for
holds
a
the
long
secret.
time.
Yeah.
I think it said it's 90 days worth of stuff is what it holds.
Oh, okay, good. Ron, you're on the air. Okay, Ron is gone. Well, this has certainly been a lively appearance.
Wow. I mean, just look at me. You can look at me and say I'm okay.
Gary, yes.
You look fantastic.
But then again, what do I know? I don't want to seem naive. Gary, you're on the air.
Haircut
Good morning,
and
Howard.
everything.
Yes.
Do you really?
Dana,
Yeah, love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
Dana, do you remember the last year of the show? You weren't on it, but I was Todd's roommate in college on the show.
Yes.
And I've met you many times.
Yes.
And let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What happened with, did Todd break your arm on the set?
One day, yes.
That's what I heard. What happened?
I don't like to speak bad about it. It was an accident. It truly was an
Todd
accident.
Bridges you're referring to?
No, it was an accident. We were just brawling, playing my wild Miss Piggy flying down the hall thing,
What, you broke your arm?
No, I went WWF on him, and then we were.
You had a fight with Todd Bridges, a physical fight?
No, we were playing. We were just wrestling around. We were just wrestling.
And you...
And he landed on me, and I rolled down wrong. That's it,
I see.
truly.
So it wasn't...
It wasn't a violent thing at all.
All right.
Okay. Dana, you coming back to L.A.?
No.
Okay.
Not for her.
I'm done with that place.
Good for you.
All
Right on.
Thank you.
Good luck, Dana.
Thank you,
All right.
man.
Well, there it is. What can I tell you, Dana? You're controversial, evidently.
Huh.
Are you sorry that you were a child actress?
No, see, that term really bothers me. I think a child actress is someone who only has it when they're little and cute.
Hmm.
I'm better now than I ever have been. And I
Acting
get
wise.
better. Yeah.
Yes.
I get better all the time. The fire's still in there.
It is.
Yes.
So you enjoy it.
I'm an actress. I consider myself an actor, not a child star.
Right.
That really bothers me a lot.
All right.
Because I never was young and cute. I got cute as I got older, maybe. But no, really, I think it's something that it burns within.
And what about that white guy who was your father on the show, Mr. Drummond?
He is the most fabulous.
You still see
man.
him?
I speak to him occasionally.
You do?
Yes, I do.
You give him a call? You say, how you doing, Mr. Drummond?
Yeah, at least once a year we speak.
Dana Plato will be appearing May 21st and 22nd in Chicago at the Expo of the Extreme. This mega concert includes Motorhead and Fang. For more information, please call the Expo hotline at 314-409-3600 or visit the website at www.mikehuntsonfire.com.
Oh, can I say goodbye?
Yes, please.
Goodbye, everybody, and thank you very much for calling and saying hi to me, and thank you for blessing me. And also, I'm sorry if I offended anybody. I really am.
You offended no one. Why would you offend somebody?
Those wackos in our audience, don't worry about them.
Okay, I'm thinking about me. But thanks for
In
calling.
my audience, do you really think you could offend somebody? I mean, if they listen to this show. Right.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Anytime.
And thanks for giving us this exclusive. You have come out of hiding, and it's great to see you.